What is up, fam? Agent O here with another action figure review, and today I have the Marvel Legends X-Men Infinite Series or Infinite Series X-Men Storm, the probably one of the chase figures. It was hard as hell for me to find this figure at brick and mortar stores. Luckily I did. I still haven't been able to find Magneto. Like, I found pretty much everybody except Magneto. So I think those two are like the hardest figures to find right now. And it sucks because both of those figures come with parts to put together Jubilee, which in my opinion should have never been a Build-A-Figure. But I understand why Hasbro did what they did. It's a sneaky snake fuck business move, but I see why they did it, you know. Instead of just making a line where you have all the figures, where you have an entire line filled with figures that everyone wants to buy, instead you give us like a Wolverine figure that we pretty much already had, but you just put a different head and you painted an X-Men symbol. You painted the X-Men symbol on the chest and you called it a brand new figure. I'm sorry, you changed the head and you put an X-Men figure on the chest and you called it a brand new figure, which I think is totally generic and whack. Instead of just giving us a brand new figure, like, we need a new Bishop figure, for fuck's sake. That Bishop figure sucks that we got back in the day. We need a new one of that if you want to do the X-Men. We need a 90s Cyclops, a good one, because that figure sucks too. The figure that we did get sucks. He looks like he's starving and he needs to eat. Like, he's been binging on crack and he's lost whatever fat was on his body. He just looks all skinny and malnourished. He sucks. We need a better X-Men figure. I mean, a better Cyclops figure. There's so many other X-Men characters that you could have done instead of doing another Wolverine figure that we already got, and just because you think that it sells. But anyway, enough of ranting on that. I'm getting off topic. This is the reason why I'm doing this review, because of this figure. And you know, I know there's been other reviews where people have been giving this figure just glowing reviews and just going on and on about how great it is. Unfortunately, this is not going to be one of those reviews. I don't care what any of the other reviewers have been saying how great this figure is. This figure has problems, and they are fundamental problems, and I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm just going to first talk about some of the pros about this figure. And one of the pros about this figure is obviously the sculpt and the look of this character. They really got her to look like her comic book counterpart, especially since this is like her current costume that she's got in the books, and it looks great. I got no complaints with the way she looks. I got no complaints with her with the sculpt of her body. You know, she looks like a healthy woman. She doesn't look like a fully grown adult with a teenage body like they have been doing with some of the other Marvel Legends figures. Case in point, the San Diego Comic-Con Psylocke. Her legs are just so skinny and she looks like a crack fiend. So, and it sucks because I still want that figure, because I know I can switch it out with another character's legs and make her look like she actually eats and she actually is athletic. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. This figure looks great, like as it is. You know, like I said, the sculpt is great. Probably my favorite thing about this character is her head sculpt, and I got some really good close-up pictures that I'll throw into the review. You know, she actually looks like Hasbro has been stepping up their game with female head sculpts, because before there were some ugly female heads. I was just like, ew. Like, you guys took what you know, the women that look good in the comic books and you just made them look terrible. But this is like a step in the right direction. You know, none of the paint apps are sloppy on her head. She's got just a really good head sculpt. Also, you know, of course, the mohawk, really nice. It's not all her hair. It's not all white. It's more like a gray. It's a definite gray, like a light gray. And there's little bits of white highlights in there. I don't know if my camera can pick it up. Maybe when I take stills, it'll catch some of that. But I think it looks just as good, if not better, than the as far as the hair goes, than the old Toy Biz Storm figure. That figure had all white hair with some like light blue highlights in there, but I think this works too. Maybe if I really want to, I might give it like a white dry brush wash or something, just so it looks a little brighter. Just because I'm curious to see what this mohawk would look like all white or whiter than this light gray. But that's like, other than the shape of her body and her head sculpt, just her overall look as a figure, she looks great. Now, I was talking about, but that's it though. That's basically it. I was talking about the pros. Now I'm just jumping right into the cons, because that's going to be the bulk of this review, and it's where I have all the problems with this review. This isn't really a problem, but it's kind of like a little nitpick for me. I love SH Figure Arts Kamen Rider toys, and I just did that mega review with the Power Rangers toys, and I just love how they add the extra posability in the neck. The head's on a ball joint, and then the neck itself is on another ball joint. The base of the neck, the connection to the upper torso, it's on another ball joint, so you get a little bit extra added range of motion, and you can't get that with this figure, since her neck is all one piece with the upper torso area. The only way you could get a little bit more head movement is to kind of pull, like you can kind of see her like ooh ooh ooh, like she's bopping her head to techno music or something. You can pull it back a little bit and she can look up a little higher. It's still pretty decent. She can still look up pretty decently, so it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a problem, and she looks down very, very well. I'm not going to go through the whole gamut of her range of motion, but one thing I wish Hasbro would do that they don't do with male figures, but they don't do with the female figures, is ab crunch. I don't really care for the diaphragm crunch. This isn't. It's not. It serves its purpose. It does what it's supposed to do. It looks all right. It looks okay. It works if you like the diaphragm, the diaphragm joint. I don't really care for it. I like an ab crunch. Give me an ab crunch and a hip swivel so I can turn her hips. To me, it looks better, looks more natural. You can't do that with any of the female figures nowadays that Hasbro makes, because they all kind of have like maybe 2 or 3 torso designs, like lower torso designs, and then they have like a few upper torso designs, and you can tell it's the same ones with different legs and arms put on them. But yeah, I don't care for that. I don't care for the diaphragm joint. That's just a nitpick on my part. Like I said, it functions and it does what it's supposed to do. You get some okay motion or a range of motion, but with the diaphragm joint, I'm pretty sure you would get a hell of a lot more range of motion. I'm sorry, with the ab crunch, God, with an ab crunch you get more range of motion. My other gripe with this figure is that I hate when the bicep swivel is connected to the elbow joint, so when you turn her arm, it looks like it's broken. I never understood why anybody who creates action figures would do this. It just doesn't look right. Put the bicep swivel up here where the deltoid and the bicep meet, so that when you turn, it looks like their whole arm is turning, because in real life your arm doesn't turn like this. It don't turn like this. This looks terrible. It's okay when you turn a little bit, kind of like a 3/4 turn, it looks all right, but when you turn it like all the way, no, it doesn't look right. I just don't care for that. That's another nitpick. It's not a big deal, but it's annoying to me. Like, these are annoying to me. Now I'm gonna get to the fundamental problems of this figure, and that's all with the lower half of her body. you know, I like these joints. I mean, I like the way this figure looks, but this is as far as you can get, which it's not that great. It's not bad. Maybe with a little finagling, you know, you could get her. You know, you could get some, you know, decent move. You know, some decent like wide stances where she's like, you know, maybe kicking or, you know, kicking somebody or whatever. But this is as far as it goes. You know, it'll look good. Like I said, it'll look all right for some poses, like if she's in some kind of like, you know, pseudo Wong Fei Hung stance, you know, with the Wong Fei Hung theme playing, you know, it would look cool. It looks okay that way. Like it would look all right this way, but you know, that's as far as it can go. You know, it looks like it would go farther, but it doesn't. Like you could, but it doesn't. That's it. I have no problem with the thigh swivel. The joints are pretty tight on the thigh and the hip joints. They're pretty tight. They work all right. Now, her biggest problem, and I don't know if any of the other reviews are pointing this out because they should, are her gummy ass knee joints. Now they're double knee joints, which is great and all, fantastic, yay. There should be standard on every figure. Double joint knees and elbows should be standard on every figure, and that's all well and good, but they're so gummy that it hurts, you know, her stability. She has stability issues because of how gummy, you know, how flexible and malleable the joints are in the knees. You know, she's all weak in the knees, like that old SWV song. for those of you old heads out there. But you know, that's a definite no-no. Like, you should not have this problem in this day and age with, you know, the advances that they've had in action figure technology, or, you know, crafting figures and whatnot. This should not be a problem, and I know this is a problem in the Guardians of the Galaxy figures, and I swear if this shit continues, I might stop collecting Marvel Legend figures, because what's the point of collecting a Marvel Legend figure if it can't stand, if it has trouble standing because of weak joints? You know, that's a definite downer for me. I was telling Strident the other day when we were talking about action figures and shit, and I was like, you know, I might be done if they continue this, and you know, he was saying, well, it only seems to affect certain lines, like some of the movie figures, like a lot of the movie figures, like for the Avengers and stuff, were really good. But then again, we have the Guardians of the Galaxy figures, but he figures that the QC and all that will be better when, especially for these for this next lineup of figures that we're going to be getting, you know, post 2014 San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm gonna hold out and I'll wait and see, because I do want a Agent Coulson and Maria Hill figure. I want the new Captain Marvel figure, and I want that Warbird figure that's coming out in the 3-pack. And I want the and I want the Radioactive Man figure too. But anyway, back to this, because I'm not done with all the problems on this character, on this figure. You know, the second strike, you know, because she's already got strike 1 with the knees. Strike 2 is her ankles. She got the ankle rocker joints, but they're kind of at an angle. So instead of just getting a straight, bend back and forth, you get a bend at an angle. So it looks like she twisted up her ankle or something. You know, it might work for some poses, but it just would have been easier to just have it be a straight up, you know, 90 degree, 180 degree tilt. You know, that's one problem. And then her ankles also suffer from that gummy joint syndrome, you know, that seems to be in a lot of these figures now. That's what I'm going to call it now. It's going to be called gummy joint syndrome. And because that's what she's got. She's got gummy joint syndrome. And then on top of that, you have a character who already has stability issues, and then you put her in these, like, you know, I don't know, these platform heels. I guess that's what you'd call them. I don't know anything about women's shoes, obviously, but, you know, I guess that's what they call them, is platform heels. So it's already hard enough to stand her because her feet aren't flat with the ground, with the floor or whatever. But then she's got wobbly knees, and her ankles are at an angle. So, and she's kind of top heavy. You know, her center of gravity is a lot higher. So like she's always tilting forward. And you don't really get a whole lot of adjustment. Because if you tilt her ankles back even just a little bit, because they kind of click, now it's too far, so you can never really get it like right. Like I can't, and that makes making her stand difficult. So if you can't even get her to stand straight up, you know, you can forget about getting her into any kind of action poses, because it's going to be almost impossible unless she's on one knee. I might try it out and see, but I doubt I'm gonna get anything like satisfactory out of posing her. And since she's got these gummy joints, which I'm afraid are gonna, you know, twist and break at some point, just because they're gummy, just because they're, you know, they're all flexible, it also makes it hard to turn. One of my other gripes with these figures, with Marvel Legend figures in general, is the paint apps. Like, you always hear me talk about how great the paint apps are in the SH Figure Arts line. I know it sounds like I'm straight dick riding Bandai toys, but that's not the case. You know, I give credit where credit's due, and they deserve a lot of credit for the way they do their paint apps. And you know, there's times where I get a Marvel Legends figure and they do it right, and most of the time there's just always problems with it. It's, you know, either their colors are bleeding in areas that they shouldn't bleed in, or they didn't paint enough coats on the figure, so the color looks kind of off. And you kind of get that with this figure, you know, because her upper torso piece, it's painted her, you know, flesh color brown, and all the rest of the body is cast in black. And you can tell with, even though they use the same color, the same white color, because they didn't add enough coat on the torso, you can see that it's off color from the lower part of her torso, the white part anyway. The gold is actually off. It's actually it's not painted, it's not symmetrical. It's kind of off to her right, and that just looks, and it's just not a good look, man. I'm sorry. See if maybe a little light might help, but yeah, it's just not a good look. And also there's some, I hate to zoom in all on her chest, but you know, I've got some better pictures, but she's got some area in her chest, in between, in the middle of her chest, that it's not painted all the way. There's actually some of the colors showing, the base colors showing through, and I'm just like, why didn't somebody just paint that in? Like, you spent all the rest of the time painting the rest of the body and making sure it was accurate, and you couldn't do that. You couldn't just finish the job and do a quality job. Like, I never have that problem with Bandai figures at all. I just don't get it. But you know, that seems to always be the case with these with Hasbro figures, with Marvel Legends figures, and lately it's been with the G.I. Joe figures too, where they're the 50th anniversary G.I. Joe figures. Like, I was gonna buy that 3-pack with Leatherneck, and I didn't because the paint was just, it was piss poor on that figure. You know, his arms weren't painted all the way, his forearms, even though they straight took the forearms off of the what is it, the Rock Roadblock figure, the Dwayne Johnson Roadblock figure. They took the forearms off of that and stuck them on Leatherneck, and it's on a different body, so it doesn't even look right. Like, his arm, he looks like he has Popeye forearms, but that's something else for another. I'm not even gonna get into that. It's just, I didn't buy it because it looked like shit. This is a better undertaking with the paint apps, you know, because they didn't even have a whole lot to paint on this figure. Just her arms, her forearms, her legs, these little white accent areas on her legs, and her chest. Like, this is probably the most paint that they had to do was in the upper chest area, and you know, making sure that they got the paint apps correct on her face. You know, and they just failed. They failed on that. You know, the face is great. You know, you can see, you know, they did her eyebrows really nicely, and her eyes are cool. She's got the whited out eyes, and it looks great. You know, but I just can't get over the lack of paint, like right in the middle where you can blatantly see it. And I don't know. I just wish Hasbro would do a better job of the paint, because paint goes a long way to making your figure look stupendous. When you look at all those customizers that sit there and they repaint an entire figure, and it really makes the Marvel Legends figure look like $1 million fucking bucks. It looks like like Hasbro. I mean, I'm sorry, not Hasbro. Like Bandai did it or something, and that's too bad that they just don't. They just seem to just not get with the program when it comes to just doing their paints better. But you know, moving on. One thing I did forget to mention though is her cape. I do like this design for the cape, and I like the fact that the cape is not made out of plastic. It's made out of this really thin fabric-y material. It kind of sucks though at the same time, because these corners on both sides of her cape, like I don't know if you can see, but they're wrinkled and I can't get the wrinkles out. And that really blows, but it's not that big of a deal because most of the time it's all folded up anyway. But yeah, this is any other figure I'd have been able to get this pose off, but I just can't get her to stand. No matter what I do to adjust her, it just kind of doesn't really work. And like I said, that's going to be a problem. Oh, I almost had it. But then she moved. But yeah, like I'm not. Whoop, there we go. But look at how much effort and time that took. It should be a lot easier. Like I have a lot easier time posing, you know, SH figure art figures, or hell, most any other figure. I have a lot easier time than this. Most of the other Marvel Legends figures are a lot easier than this to pose. It shouldn't be this hard. Oh, and there she falls. But anyway, yeah. That's pretty much it. I got really nothing else to add to this figure. I know she's definitely, when I put up all my X-Men figures, because I want to do my 90s version, all my 90s version X-Men characters, you know, posing together and stuff. So when I do that, she's definitely gonna be on a stand flying, you know, up above the other characters, maybe her and like Jean Grey, and maybe and definitely Archangel. But yeah, it's just because I can't get her to stand. Like I know if I stand her, I know eventually it's going to be a matter of time before she falls over, and then she's going to probably do the domino effect and knock over a bunch of my other figures. But if Hasbro doesn't fix these problems, like this isn't even a QC. You can't even call it a QC problem. It's just a cheap problem. It's being a cheapskate, you know, because it's probably cheaper for this kind of terrible ass plastic, which is not going to help your joints. I don't know. It's too bad, because I really want to like this figure, and I just can't because of these issues that we have with her joints. And that's really unfortunate, because I think they really hit gold with her look. But everything but the posability is kind of a wash on her, just because it's hard as hell to get her to stand, and she doesn't have the right kind of foot and ankle joints, and her knee joints are just shitty, because they bow a little bit under her weight, and she's not even that heavy of a figure. But yep, that's pretty much it. Once I get the rest of my Jubilee parts, because I only need her left arm, and that's coming in the mail, I'll do a review on the Jubilee figure, because that was another one I wanted to check off the list, and Hasbro finally did it, and we finally got one. So I'll do a review on that, and I'll see how that figure turns out once I get all the pieces and I get her together and everything, and I'll definitely upload that shit. So Tune in next time when I do some other action figure reviews. I'm sorry, this figure kind of bums me out because it had the makings of a really good figure and a definite like mainstay on the shelf. You know, I have the old Toy Biz version. I was waiting until I had all the rest of my X-Men, and then I was going to take her out of the packaging and play around with her and pose her and possibly do a review. But and I was even contemplating getting another Storm figure and making and repainting it so that her costume's all white, and I had a way to do her shoulder pads with the X-Men symbols on them, just like on the figure. I had a cool ass way I was gonna do that and pull that off, but I'm not gonna buy another figure of this unless I can unless I figure out a way to get different unless I get a different figure with better knee joints to fix her legs and possibly her feet. I don't know, because it looks like where they peg in, they actually peg in like around the arch of her foot, the upper arch of her foot. That's where the peg goes in. So I don't know if getting her different feet would help fix the problem that she's got in her with her in range of motion in her feet. So I don't know, it's something I'd have to play around with, and I'm not that big into customizing and kit bashing and all that. So anyway, that's really gonna do it. I got nothing else to add to this. It's a good figure just for the look, just based on the look, but playability and posability, it fails, and that's unfortunate. So that's gonna do it for this review. I'm Agent O, and I'm out. Peace.